to bring you more. It's our Sunday morning tailgate show presented by Frickers right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, good Sunday morning, everybody. It's the Sunday morning tailgate show live here from Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. I'm Justin Kinner alongside College Football Hall of Famer, former Ohio State Buckeye, Keith Byars, as we get you set for the Sunday morning tailgate show. We'll, of course, be getting you set for Week 11 of the National Football League, the big Week 11 matchups. Of course, we'll take a look at some of the state championship games going on here today. Quite a few state champions in the state of Ohio have been crowned. My Van Wert Cougars are playing in the state title game coming up later on this afternoon, which I'm excited about. The first time they've been to the state title game since 2000. Former Buckeye Joel Penton actually played on that team, so I'm pretty excited about that. I tell you that much. But what a day yesterday in college football. And, you know, the Big Ten, honestly, everyone talks about the SEC and everyone. The Big Ten this season has been the most entertaining conference in all of college football, if you ask me. From a storyline perspective, from the teams that have stepped up and really provided a spark as far as, you know, talking points are concerned. The Indiana storyline still fascinates me. That's what we're going to open up with. Ohio State, Indiana yesterday. Keith, the other day, on Friday when we were live at the Firehouse in Trotwood for the holiday help out, shout out to Faith Daniels and 92.1 WROU for the fantastic job they do there. We talked about Indiana and what this game could possibly mean. I think we wanted to respect Indiana, but I think we sometimes still can't get the fact that it's Indiana out of our head. And the way the game started, I felt like, oh, man, Indiana, I don't think can get that out of the back of their head either. I think sometimes they remember, oh, yeah, we're Indiana. They're Ohio State. We shouldn't be competing with them. Once they got settled in, they looked like they belonged. They look like a top 10 team, and that was a fantastic game yesterday. We learned a lot about Ohio State and some of their flaws, but we also learned about how they respond to adversity, which is something we really didn't get to see from Ohio State last year until the college football playoff.
I mean, you're right. I can hardly hear myself.
That better?
That's a little better.
Okay.
Look, I can't hear this here. I know, technically, we're live. No, perfect.
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay, my bad. We're good. We're off and rolling.
You know, leadership starts at the top. You know, the best leadership starts at the top, you know, as far in Indiana has made that decision, you know, a few years ago, you know, to go with Coach Tom Allen. And he's got those guys believing in themselves. And when you believe in stuff, that gets to be contagious. And I earned let's just say respect. I won't even say a healthy respect. I had a little bit of, respect, for Indiana football because, you're in the Big Ten. Something I spoke about on Friday. I said one thing about Indiana, they usually don't have two things to match. If they got a good defense, the offense is terrible. They have a good offense, defense. This year, they have everything, except one little minor. They don't have a running game yet. They have a big running back, but it's hard to. If they hadn't had any kind of running game against Ohio State yesterday, they would have had a really much better chance to win the football game. But one of the reasons why they were in the game. Because they took advantage of one of Ohio State's weaknesses, and it's a major weakness right now. There's no hiding it. I've been saying it for the first three games, but game number 4 really came to a head as I saw secondary. You can't, consistently, graduate guys into the NFL, first-round picks, second-round picks, and, last year we lost 3 or 4 guys in the secondary, and they're all starting on Sunday. And it's going to have an effect. It's not like you got players, it's not a plug-and-play system. Okay, you're out, my time's in. And the same, can be said in, the running back position. But specifically the defensive secondary, it's going to suffer. And then on top of that, you lose a Chase Young. You lose a Hamilton, somebody, a defensive tackle. That's 5 guys I just mentioned are all starting on Sundays. It's going to have an effect on Saturdays. And it came to a head, and I mean, we got to Kerry Combs, the assistant defense coordinator, he's secondary coach. He's got to get some answers. He get them quick. Otherwise, the aspirations that we have for this team in 2020, it's not going to happen because the weaknesses, will come back on each games against high quality opponents. So, with that being said, I got a lot of respect for Indiana, and you heard me. I say all the time, it's not how they play. And Ohio State played enough to win, and got taken up against Indiana, but we cannot have 3 interceptions. He's can't do it, Justin. So if that, hopefully that's his worst game, and we still win. It's lessons learned. But like I said, I give Indiana a great deal of credit and respect, and it starts at the top. Tom Allen is doing a tremendous job at the University of Indiana.
All right, again, the final yesterday, Ohio State 42, Indiana 35. It was a top 10 matchup, a top 10 showdown. Number 3, Ohio State versus number 9, Indiana. The AP rankings will be coming out here shortly, and we're going to talk about what we think. And then this was also very action for Ohio State, Indiana. Everyone here in week 12 of the college football season, mainly because the very first college football playoff poll comes out on Tuesday night, and this was kind of not a final audition because there's still 4 more polls to come out after this Tuesday. But the final audition before the audition comes out, and people can say, well, the first one, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the last one. The first poll matters greatly to me, mainly because whether we like how the committee forms their list, Keith, whether we like it or not, how they put their first list out, we learn about what they're looking at. Whether we agree with it or not.
We have an idea what they're looking at. Nobody truly knows because they don't even know it.
But we get at least a flavor idea of what this committee, because although there's still stagnant members every year, there are new ones that come in and out. So my thing is yes, I want to say, the first one doesn't matter, but it does, because we kind of learn what the committee is looking for. And if you're Indiana, I wonder how you're feeling about, what do they think about this? I get blamed for being a hater on time, but I learned more about Indiana than Ohio State. I was more impressed with Indiana and their loss to Ohio State than I was in Cincinnati and their win against a non-top 25 UCF team. How will Indiana be rewarded, in your opinion? I believe they should be. They took it.
If you're going to reward Florida, Texas A&M with losses,
yes,
in the conference, you have to reward Indiana for a conference loss on the road.
Blown out. I mean, these teams that have losses have got blown out. Indiana looked like a number 9 team in the country yesterday. They took it to Ohio State and had a chance to win late in that game. To me, we got to stop at this. Winning matters. Yes, winning matters, but how you compete matters. How you compete matters. And we can't ignore bad losses and we can't sit there and ignore bad losses for other teams and then not acknowledge how Indiana took it to a top 3 team in the country yesterday.
On the road,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, with you. But also when that opening list comes out, you'll see what you have to do to improve your status. Somewhere, last year Ohio was number 1 late in the season. Losing and somehow they number 2. Who knows? But let's say, for example, if you're 7 or 8, and usually the first college football rankings comes out in the late October, and so you have still half the season, or a little less than half the season, like 6 weeks ago, or 5 weeks ago, to improve your lot in the standings. This year. It's a shorter run to the finish now. You can't, if you're 12 or 13 on the outside looking in, and you have one loss, you need a great deal of help, and you won't control your destiny. Whereas Clemson, no matter where they come at, they're going to be top 4. Be surprised if they're not in the top 4. They still control their destiny, to the playoffs because they play an ACC championship game and they may get a rematch against Notre Dame. But somebody like Indiana, it's interesting to see where they are. Because we're talking playoffs with Indiana. What would be their path? They unless something drastic happens over the next 3 weeks, Indiana won't be in the college football. Won't be in the Big Ten championship game. Not without assistance. They need Ohio State to lose twice, and they got to run the table to have a shot. So, at least you have an idea you have to get there, and we haven't even. On my initial list, I don't have anybody in the Pac-12 in the top 10. But they've only 2 weeks into the season, 3 weeks into the season, and I just don't know. Not like Ohio State. The Big Ten has a great deal more. They only get 5 weeks into the season, but we'll see. We'll see. But I'm interested to see what they say. I don't really have a lot of drama as far as my list goes, but my list is Ohio State 1. Alabama 1, Ohio State 2, Notre Dame 3, and Clemson 4, and everybody else can jump in after that. Like you said, you really want to be there at the end, but you need to be there at the beginning to see how what kind of roles you have to toe. to get there. Look at Ohio State in 2014. I think the first week they opened it like 6 or 7, and it looked like they was going to be stuck at 5. And then they leapfrogged you get into the top 4, and they went on to win the first college football playoff national championship. They had one lost team. But we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out.
All right, it's the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show live here from Breakers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. Justin Kinner, College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byars with you here on the Sunday morning, recapping a big day in college football yesterday. The final college football Saturday before the first college football playoff poll is revealed on Tuesday night. We also got plenty to get to in the world of the National Football League, Week 11 of the NFL, with the Browns and the Bengals matchups that we'll start previewing here in a little bit. We'll give you our Week 11 NFL picks. But right now, we are reacting to Ohio State 42-35 win over Indiana. We'll take your calls, 457-9464. We have Shay Neal back in the studio. Shay a call, and he'll relay your information to us, and we'll bring you on the show. You can chat with Keith Byars about what you saw yesterday in the Ohio State 42-35 win over Indiana. Let's start with the quarterback play for Ohio State. Justin Fields completed 18 of 30 passes for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an uncharacteristic game from him with 3 interceptions. One thing that I thought was interesting yesterday that I really liked it when they were talking about the analysis of Justin Fields. We've been spoiled with Justin Fields. Like yesterday, you think he had a bad game, but you look at that stat line. I mean, the 18 of 30 for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. The 3 picks is not good. But the line that I liked about him was if he has to stop focusing on the Heisman's going to come with continuing to win games and getting to the college football playoff and just being great. Yesterday, he was forcing throws that we haven't seen him force throughout the season. Still had a great game, not nitpicking here, but I kind of see where they're coming with that, where he was trying to create.
He had a good game. He had a good game.
I'll try. I try to throw that line to keep it fine. He had a good game. I thought he was trying to force too many things, especially early on. I thought he mentally got out of the game a little bit when he threw those picks early. One of them was a hot potato one that really, whatever. It was it happens. But the third, we saw him kind of mentally get out of it. Then before the closeout to the first half, leads Ohio State after that interception by Indiana down the field, and they're able to score heading in to half. But that was a legit. That was the best defense he's faced all season. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, and, they didn't play last week. So he had to go 2 weeks and hearing how great you are. He has, what was that one stat they kept saying he has more touchdown passes than incompletions and things of that nature, and doesn't throw interceptions. And you start to press yourself, and it was the first time. One thing for sure, he's human. So he's not a robot. He is human. And like I said, he didn't have a great game. He had a good game. He had a game good enough to, a winning performance. I don't want anybody else under center other than Justin, not Justin Kinner, Justin Fields. But I think he can learn. He can learn from it. I mean, anybody who's ever played the game, any position, know that you're not perfect. And I didn't always have the best game at running back. I didn't always run for 150 plus yards when I was at Ohio State. That happens, and that doesn't mean you didn't have a good game. One thing at Ohio State, and most colleges do the same thing, but on Sundays after the game, you get your grades from the game. Yeah. Every individual player gets a grade. And they used to say, did you grade a winning performance? A winning performance was your individual performance good enough for us to win the football game? And for a running back, we had to grade 90% or higher, on every snap. And if you did that, you had a winning performance. So for an offensive lineman, it was more, the bar's a little lower, theirs was 75%, and so did you have a winning performance individually? Yes, the team won, but how did you play individually? And I still think he would. Now, quarterbacks, they grade them a little differently, but I still think he would still grade out over however many plays they played a winning performance. So we dwell on the 3 interceptions. They were bad plays. Very bad. Actually, like offensive tackle giving up 3 sacks. And what about the other times he didn't give a sack? Yes, but those are magnified, and they get one part of your job is to take care of the ball. Part of your job is to protect the quarterback. But it's all coachable. And what I love the most about Justin Fields is he's a very coachable kid, doesn't rest on his laurels. He doesn't skirt. He's a tough mind. He's mentally strong. And mentally strong guys can handle constructive criticism. And that's all it is. That's all he'll get today is constructive criticism. That's all he deserves is constructive, and just as anybody else. The Heisman takes care of themselves. He won't have any control on what the Heisman, what he can or cannot do to win a Heisman. Speaking from experience, I didn't get caught up in the Heisman hype. I wanted to win it. And at the end of the day, when I look in the mirror after every game, was that Heisman worthy? And I would say yes. At the end, when all 11 of my games were completed, I was content that nothing I can do or less is going to win me this Heisman Trophy. I know what I've done in my body work, it's worthy to win it, and I should win it. And when I didn't win it, it wasn't because that's how I could sleep better each and every day. Because, hey, I got screwed at it. I should have won it. But I was not like, oh, man, what could I have done? I wish I did. No, I'm pleased with myself. I can look myself in the mirror every morning, since that frightful night in New York when I didn't win, and be okay with it. But you have the respect of your peers. That's something no one can ever take away from you. I mean, look at last year. We sent 2 people to New York. And possibly a third could have went there. J.K. Dobbins was just as worthy, but Justin Fields was there last year. Chase Young was there last year. Some would say they split the vote, but nevertheless, they know how close it feels to get there and then to come back for another shot. Yeah, but that's the individual award, and the team always comes first.
Yep.
So, Justin, to get back to that, worry about the team and let the individual awards, accolades take care of themselves.
The one interesting thing, the talking point about Ohio State, earlier I mentioned Justin Fields. We've been spoiled with how great he's been, that when we have a game like this, we freak out, and we shouldn't, because it's just that's how good he's been. The running game is very similar in that regards. Ryan Day, my favorite line from him during his coaches show last Thursday was when they started asking him about the struggles of the run game, and he stopped the reporter in mid-sentence. He goes, what struggles in the run game? We're averaging over 200 yards a game. He goes, it's not as sexy as what it was when J.K. Dobbins was here, but he's right. And I fell into that trap too, Keith, watching the game. I'm like, man, this run game just doesn't look the same. Well, tell that to the yardage. Tell that to the total yardage, because this is a team.
Indiana want to switch.
Yeah, Indiana would kill for that run game, that horrible Buckeye run game that they have. It's just not as sexy. It reminds me of the year after Ezekiel Elliott left. Mike Weber came in and rushed for 1,000 yards. And you know what? It didn't look as sexy, but he did his job. He rushed for 1,000 yards. With lesser games and just getting acclimated late, we're not going to have 1,000-yard back. But Master Teague yesterday, 26 carries, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looks like a guy that's finally getting settled in after
every college team in America will have those stats.
Absolutely. By the way, Ohio State yesterday threw for 300 yards and rushed for over 307 yards. Or rushed for over 300 yards. This Ohio State team, yes, we're going to nitpick the secondary. Justin Fields made some mistakes, but again, you know why they had mistakes yesterday, Keith? Because they actually played a team that gave them some resistance. That's fine. And that's why I loved yesterday's game, is because sometimes I get bored with the Rutgers games and the Nebraska games and those games where I'm like, okay, they're cool, they're Big Ten opponents, but they're not on Ohio State's level. Yesterday, Indiana proved that they could play at that level, at least for this season. And now we know, okay, Ohio State.
Well, that's what I said, is belief.
Yep.
They believe in each other.
Yep. And now I'm like, okay, if they go up against an Alabama or a Clemson, we're going to be worried about the secondary. We're going to be worried about, does Justin Fields have those mental lapses again? But also, we know that he can, out-throw the best of them. We know the running game's going to be there. We know that this team still has some pass rushers. Like, Ohio State's fine at the end of the day. But these are why I like these games. I learned more about both Indiana and Ohio State yesterday than I did about a Cincinnati playing a UCF.
I mean, you look at Ohio State at halftime. The score is 28-7. Wow. At the end of the first quarter, it was 7-7.
Uh-huh.
And then Ohio State just takes over the second quarter. It's 28-7. Ohio State gets the ball at the beginning of the third quarter. Now it's 35-7. And now it's like, oh, yes. Okay. Who's going to get the opportunity to play? Now Indiana's going to be Indiana of old and just lay down and, let us just do what we will against them. And then from that point on, it was all Indiana. Indiana outscored Ohio State in the second half of the football game.
Wow.
So by 14. So they made it a one-score game. Ohio State gets shuts out in the fourth quarter.
I was just going to bring that up. They didn't score a point in the fourth quarter.
Didn't score a point in the fourth quarter. And, it was like, wow. And that's what I'm talking about, the belief. And, I give Indiana credit, give the head coach credit, and if they play that way, the way they played Saturday against Ohio State, they're not going to lose another game this year. They're not going to be, so they're still going to be in my top 10 as of right now. I'm not dropping them out. I have them 5 in the country. Anytime you beat Michigan, you beat Penn State, hey, I can't. You're at the makings of a special season. Even though they beat them at home, and then you lose by 7 on the road against Ohio State. Oh yeah, you're top 10. You're a top 10 football team, and I give you, a lot of credit. But can they handle that degree of success? And like I said, it's always how we play, not how they play. And we got a lot of work to do on the secondary. I'm not taking anything away from Indiana, giving them a lot of credit. Michael Penix threw for almost 500 yards, 491 yards.
Good for him.
Against Ohio State. In the horseshoe, that shouldn't happen, but it did happen. And that's something they can build on. Hopefully he leaves and go to the pros. I don't want to see him next year. Indiana, but nevertheless, that's okay. But like I said, you have to learn, and we have honesty with each other. I was talking to, texting some of my Buckeye teammates, during the game yesterday. And at one point I said, when is Sean Wade going to make a play in 2020? And then next quarter he gets a pick 6. Wow, okay, finally. But then where's the rest of them? Where's the rest of the team? Where's Sean Wade at? And that's, that is the defensive backfield, is a close-knit group of guys. They're probably the second closest knit behind the offensive linemen. The offensive linemen are the closest knit of teammates on the team, because they know as well as the offensive line goes, everybody goes, and one goes down, all of them goes bad. And the same can be said in the secondary. Secondary is judged by your last play. Did you make the play or did you not make the play? And we've been spoiled by great secondary play at Ohio State.
No kidding.
BIA, the best in America, but we're not the BIA, the best in America this year. But they got time to change it. They have time to change it, and it starts this week against Illinois.
Well, one thing I will say is a lot of times, last year we didn't get to see Ohio State really be tested throughout the regular season. That was my concern in their matchup going into Clemson was, man, we know how dominant Ohio State is, but how are they when they kind of get punched in the mouth a bit? What I love about this Indiana game is they're battle tested now. And it's one game, but you know what I mean? Like it won't be foreign territory if they find themselves in a close game in the college football playoff, and Indiana brought that to the table, something Penn State was supposed to do, Nebraska was supposed to do. I'm a big fan of what Indiana did yesterday. I wasn't pulling for them to win by any means, but I love that Indiana held their end of the bargain, because I'm annoyed with Michigan State. I'm annoyed with Michigan. I'm annoyed with Penn State. They have a responsibility to help this conference. And, everyone complained to Ohio State, they're just too good.
Ohio State's carrying the water for the whole conference. Yeah.
Good for Indiana. Good for another team stepping up saying, hey, we want to play too. We're not just going to settle for this. Well, it's Ohio State's conference and going from there. But 457-9464, your reaction, fans' reaction to Ohio State, Indiana yesterday. Let's go to the phone lines. We got Jason and Dayton. Jason, welcome in. How are you?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
Good. Can you hear him, Keith?
I do.
All right. You're off and rolling, man. What you got for us?
Well, first off, I just want to say, I thought Indiana, I wasn't sure about them. I even kind of laughed them off at first. I didn't think they would be that good, but them guys are pretty good. We got to give them credit. I feel like maybe having the one game off last week kind of put us in a little bit of a rust, but you can't really say, that's the reason they couldn't get up higher, because, you're a college football team. You're supposed to be the best in America. You should be able to, get up big and stay big. The only thing that bothers me about this team is when they get big leads, and it goes against a lot of people, but when they get big leads, they kind of lay off a little bit. They let it go. They feel like they're ahead, and they allow teams to come back. I feel like if they would kind of keep it a little bit more steady pace, then it wouldn't be as bad. And to say we lost 3 first-round draft picks last year, in the secondary and in the rushing. And, we got young guys in there right now, and I believe they're going to be good players. But my thing is we weren't hardly getting a rush on the quarterback. I think we only got 1 sack yesterday maybe. And my whole thing is like, you got to get that rush. You got to get the rush going, because that is what kind of saves your back end a little bit. You know, if you can make the quarterback have to throw a whole lot faster, if you can get to him, then your corners aren't going to have to cover as much. And there were a lot of blown coverages yesterday, and you can't attribute all of that to that. But you have to get a better pass rush. And, you know, losing Chase Young and losing both of our corners last year in the first round, I mean, that's a pretty big loss. And I think we're going to be okay. I really do. I just think that now we have a tape on them playing bad, you know, and I guarantee you Ryan Day's going to go in there and he's going to show them the tape, and he's going to jump on them a little bit. He's going to teach them what they did wrong, and he's going to make them get it together. You know, sometimes you need a bad game to realize where your weakness is at, and I think that they'll get it fixed.
Yeah, that was my point about, you know, I kind of like that they got tested a little yesterday, just to kind of, to your point, Jason, kind of know, okay, we you know, we're told how great we are each week. And by the way, the coaches are smart enough to be able to dissect the film, Keith, even when you're playing.
Eye in the sky, don't lie.
They know even in practices what this team needs to work on, but sometimes you need another team to kind of show you that a little bit. And but yeah, I mean, you know, what are your thoughts, Keith, when Jason brought up the fact that, you know, that week off? To me, I look at it as you had 2 weeks to prepare for Indiana then versus, you know, I don't know. How do you view that?
Well, I mean, you know, I agree with you. They did have 2 weeks to prepare. They had time to sit back and look at them on film. They saw them live. Also, last Saturday when they weren't playing. But still, you have to respect them. And if you don't want to give them respect, they're going to take respect. And Indiana did an excellent job of that yesterday, taking their respect, you know, from Ohio State by throwing for almost 500 yards and, you know, giving them a dogfight in the second half of the football game. And that's, you know, it's a teachable moment. It would have been, like I said, I mentioned to you on Friday, you know, we was at the food giveaway, that I was nervous from the standpoint, let's not repeat Purdue and Iowa from just a few years ago. This game could be like that. Not necessarily we get blown out, but that we would, you know, not take them serious and let them hang around and get confidence. And you saw yesterday, once they got confidence in that second half, they were somebody to deal with. But thank God we had a big enough lead, and you know, we was able to overcome it. But like I said, that's a learning point. It's something that they can, the coaches will teach them. And the caller was right also. I was just about to touch on it, was our pass rush. We don't have anybody that got a double team. You know, we got some pressures, but, you know, and I like that we blitzed, you know, yesterday, but I also want us to get pressure without a blitz. Make them, you know, Chase Young was a blitz every time he came, even though he, by
himself.
He had to always, where he break the huddle. Where is Chase Young? Where's Joey Bosa? Where's Nick Bosa? So, but those guys are not walking back in the building. It's time for somebody else to step up. I saw some tendencies, you know, at defensive end. You know, the young Harrison had a nice play that should have been a fumble. Get robbed out of that. You know, the pressure on the quarterback. I've seen some things out of Cooper, but I haven't seen it for 60 minutes. I've seen it, you know, sporadic, and that is the best friend of a defensive back, is a pass rush. You know, so that will help their development a lot better if you had a better pass rush. Those things kind of go hand in hand, like a great running back with a poor offensive line. You know, give him a solid line, and the running back will prosper.
All right, Justin Kinner, College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byars with you here on this Sunday morning, live at Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. We are out here every Sunday morning throughout the college and NFL season, and we want to make sure that you have a shot to come on out here, hang out with us, enjoy some great food. There's wall-to-wall TVs. Of course, you can watch all the big NFL games. Any game you want to watch, all you got to do is just let one of the waitresses know, and they'll make sure they get it on the big screen for you. We got some big NFL games coming up, but we'll talk about here in just a moment, including the Browns and the Eagles, Keith. And did you know, according to you know, their beat writer on with ESPN and Jake Trotter, he says that the Eagles remain the only team that the Browns have yet to defeat in the 21st century, and that's a team that hasn't won a lot of games with the Browns. So the Eagles, you know, they're yeah.
I did not know that.
So that's something to keep in mind. But Ohio State 42, Indiana 35. Buckeye fans, your reaction to yesterday's game? I feel good about it. As weird as that sounds, I felt good that they were pressured. I felt good that there was a little resistance put up, just to kind of give them a little bit of resistance, to kind of know what we could even expect whenever we head into the college football playoff. Of course, hoping everything falls into place as it should. Let's go back to the phones. We got Buckeye superfan Tennessee Jeff. Jeff, welcome in. How are you?
Hey guys, listen. I just got in from Charlotte. Literally, I just got you guys on the radio, and I caught the last 2 minutes of the guy's call. That was a great call, and Keith nailed it. Just overall, as far as a pass rush, we have Keith. I mean, it's huge. We have nobody up front in the front seven that they have to double team. As far as what I saw yesterday. Justin Fields is human. He a couple bad decisions, but he still threw for over 3. He still, he was responsible for 3 touchdowns. Keith Byars probably loves to see a big bruise. I freaking love the running back that has become of Master Teague as far as I wasn't real impressed week 1, and I still don't really know about Sherman because we haven't seen enough. He can break, I just don't know. But I like Master Teague. He clearly looks, and Keith can touch on this, like our number 1 running back. O-line, great. And I told you, Justin, a month or so ago, this could be the best offensive line we've ever had. They haven't shown that yet, particularly with pass blocking. They can, when we run the ball, they can move the guys off the line. My concern, I see a lot of stuff on social media. A win's a win. It's true in a sense. A win's a win, and we're basically. If you guys remember, I don't remember what year. I'll just go, for instance, 2002 when we just blew everybody's doors off, and then we came against Urban Meyer and those 2 defensive ends, and our tackles couldn't do nothing with them, and we got our doors blown up. We're gonna look like freaking gangbusters in the next 3 weeks as long as we get the games in, because none of these 3 teams, I don't care what the team up north did last night, they still have no secondary. We'll shred them. So we'll beat these next 3 teams. And I'm not worried about Northwestern because they have a clear-cut lead on the west side. But a win's a win, but we are national championship or bust, right, guys? Right?
Pretty much.
Agreed.
Okay, so when we go into college, I've told you, Justin, before, and I'll hang up after this and listen. When we go into college football playoff, what I've seen, the clear-cut number 1 team in the country, in my opinion, is Alabama. When we go against an Alabama and they get some pressure on Justin and they stop the run, our secondary is a problem. You know what? Our secondary is an issue, and I'm concerned about it. I didn't hear if you guys have talked about it all day, but what I saw, and I watched the game again this morning, we are just not good in the secondary, in the back end. Banks, Proctor, none of them, man. And yeah, the caller before said they're young. They're young, but you know what? So is the freshman Williams that caught that. So I don't want to hear you're young. And I know it's a different kind of season, and it's a lot of different things happen. But when we go against a team, Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones were freaking foaming at the mouth yesterday watching this game. That's a concern for me. But Keith touched on it. You got to have somebody up front that can cause havoc to where the quarterback has 1.3 seconds to get rid of the ball. But overall, we are 4-0, like Ryan Day said. We're going to be 7-0 as long as nobody's going to beat us in the Big Ten. But we want a title, man, this year. We have the team to do it. Or do we in the secondary? Great show, guys. I'll hang up and listen. Go Bucks.
Good stuff, Tennessee Jeff. Thanks for the call. And yes, Keith did touch on the secondary. I mean, you just heard him allude to his concerns about that. I mean, forget the secondary in regards to how they match up to, Wisconsin or Northwestern or Indiana like yesterday. What are your concerns about? I mean, you have Alabama as your number 1 team on your Keith Byars poll too. When you are watching Ohio State's secondary, are you like me where I'm not really watching their secondary and, oh man, look what Indiana's doing to them? I'm watching, oh man, what would Alabama or Clemson do to them? Is that how you view this as well?
No, I'm not even haven't even thought about Alabama and Clemson yet, what they would do to our secondary, because my focus isn't there yet. There's plenty of time for me to focus.
I'm ADD, Keith. I'm already in January right now.
Who we are right now. And my opinion, what stays the same. It's not like what they do, it's what we do. And we're judged against our own barometer. Not that I got my head in the sand, but I know what high quality defensive back play is like. And we've seen it over the last few years. And those guys that are on the field now, they were on the sideline last year waiting for an opportunity, to get in there. That's one of the reasons why they chose Ohio State to come, play defensive back and be one of the best in America. But now the opportunity is here. Yep. It is your turn, and you have to meet the challenge and meet the expectation of the position and where you are. And the only way you can do that is by accepting criticism and going out each and every other day when we're not around on the practice field and challenging yourself, giving 110% of everything you do. So it would translate, because I'm in some things you cannot coach, and that's effort. I mean, when a couple long passes that Indiana caught yesterday, I saw defensive backs quit. Not busting high motor to get to the play and try to stop it from scoring. Go the extra mile. Don't go to pointing fingers. I mean, Hooker's pointing at, where's it? What, dude, the play is still on. Tackle him. He let the guy walk in the last 5 yards to the end zone.
That's a good
you
point.
Sitting there looking around like, what the heck? I can't coach that.
There was about 2 or 3 plays. That was one where, yes, Indiana played well. Penix nearly threw for 500 yards, but how many big plays did Penix have that no matter who the quarterback is, I could have been in that Indiana pocket? There were guys wide open. I can hit a wide open target. Penix is great. I'm not taking anything away from what he did, because if you take those big plays away, he's still throwing for 300-plus yards and still has a fantastic stat line. But a good 150 to 200 yards of his 490 or whatever he had was those types of plays right there where they had big scoring drives that were off of one major play that the secondary was just miscommunication. You're allowed to have a miscommunication once, maybe twice, but 3, 4, 5 times, that's not at this point of the season.
But then sometimes that goes back to coaching.
Mm-hmm.
How we make blowing assignments? You got guys playing zone and it's man. You got guys playing man in the zone. Either they can't learn it, or maybe you're giving them the wrong lesson. Maybe you're overloading them, and sometimes less is more. And if I've given up 500 yards, I round up 500 yards of offense. I mean, passing 491, 500, same thing. You give up 500 yards, your job is on the line. They were talking about this is the most yards opponents thrown at Ohio State since 1981. I remember that game. That was I wasn't there. I was a senior in high school.
It was a little before back in your day.
Yeah, but I was a senior in high school, and that game they reference to is Illinois.
Yep.
Quarterback was Wilson. Played for the New England Patriots. What's his name? Tony Eason. Tony Eason was a quarterback. Played for the New England Patriots. And he threw for 621 yards. And the defensive back coach at the time was a coach that everybody knows today, Nick Saban. That cost Nick Saban his job. That got his behind fired. He got fired from Ohio State, not after that game, but after that season.
Wow, that's
621. He was a defensive back coach. So, Kerry Combs, I love you. You've done a great job in your first stop here now. But, Kerry, you're the defense coordinator. You're responsible for that. So you have to put guys in the positions to make plays. And that means you got to play less man. I mean, it's 4th and 10. Why are we in man coverage? Why are we in man coverage at 4th and 10 and they put the catch touchdown? I'm like, are you kidding me? Play zone, keep everything in front of you and get pressure, and let's tackle them at shorter than 10 yards. And only have to let them complete the pass. So that's on the coordinator. That's what I mean. It's easy to talk about the players, but players aren't getting paid. We're paying coaches a healthy salary, 7 figures. I need that corrected, and I need to correct it right now.
Especially if it's going to cost you games in the big scheme of things that you're going. I mean, like the last caller said, championship or bust. That's the expectation. Back to the Facebook feed. Vincent Waller on Facebook says, Buckeye excuse hour this morning. The Alabama, Clemson, Florida offenses would eat this weak defense alive. Only hope to win it all is to get to play Cincinnati and then Notre Dame, but I'm pretty sure they couldn't stop Notre Dame. I don't think this has been an excuse.
Who did Kentucky? Who did Alabama play yesterday? Kentucky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Like I mean, what defense in the SEC? Come on. I mean, if Ohio State was playing in the SEC, they'd be lighting them that defense up too. I'm not sold on Trask, by the way, at Florida. Who have they played? Come on. I'm not sold.
See what you did, Vincent?
I'm not sold. Don't go talk that SEC stuff to me today. No.
All right, we're live here at Frickers, 741 by the Dayton Mall, the Sunday morning tailgate show. Justin Kinner, College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byars with you here. We'll continue to take your calls. More calls coming in now, but 457-9464 if you're listening outside of the Dayton area, 937-457-9464. Give Shay Neal a call back in the studio, and he'll relay your info to us. We're going to get to our Week 11 NFL talk coming up around the corner. We'll also give you what we think our top 4. When the College Football Playoff Committee releases their poll on Tuesday, Tuesday night. Not the Keith Byars top four, not the
That's the real top four, though, by the way.
Yeah, the real ones. But what do we think the top four is going to look like? We'll get to that when we come back. Plus more of your calls. Don't go anywhere.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada, nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextsstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now. Incredible! Good luck. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio. WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
For the Dayton Ball, Justin Kinner, Keith Byars with the year. Keith was just asking me if I won the knockout. So Keith Byars hosts this knockout league every year, and I won it the very first year I was here, or the very first year I did it. So that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago. Okay.
Or 3 years. Either way, it was a few years.
We have 3 seasons a year.
And it was, so I won the first season of the first year that I did it, and I hadn't won in a few years, but I finally won this year for season 1. So there's that. But yes,
people don't know what we're talking about, but trust me, it's fun. We do it every year, and we still have 2 seasons going. And what it is, just quick overview. We just, everybody have office pools and things of that nature. So in office pool, you got to choose how many games every Sunday, how many games are going to win or lose. We don't do that. All we just do is just choose one game every Sunday, no point spreads. And if you choose a team, you can't choose them no more for that season. And how long is the season? Well, season lasts as long as everybody continues to advance, because you win and advance. Once you lose, you're out. And so Justin won this season 1, and season 1 started the second week of the NFL season, and it ended last week. And season 2 started in week 5, and season 3 started in week 9. And so it's still interesting. We got 2 seasons going. I got knocked out of season 1. I got knocked out of season 2, and I'm still in season 3. When Green Bay lost to Minnesota a couple of weeks ago, that knocked me out of season 2.
See what I do.
I'm still upset at the Packers.
And it doesn't, my philosophy doesn't work every single time. But everyone else right away, the second a fresh season starts, people jump on the they jump on the Chiefs or the Ravens or the top teams.
The sexy picks, yeah.
And I go for the middle. I mean, I won picking the Eagles. I won picking, and the Browns are 6-3.
Miami, you had Miami on your team.
Miami picking the Bengals or the Browns. I mean, that's risky every week. They're not guaranteed anything. So, I've had fun with that.
You deserve it. You got a little Christmas present.
By the end of the year,
Christmas present.
By the end of the season, I still have my Kansas. I won it without picking Kansas City throughout the year. So I still had them. So I was tempted to tell the other 2, you know what? No, let's keep playing. But my luck, I know my luck. I'm like, I can't.
You'd have to choose Kansas City in this rivalry game this afternoon against the Raiders. That's the only loss of the season. Would be the Raiders.
I'm getting this sent in. Our Norm Greavy, shout out to Norm Greavy, by the way. He just said to ask you about. He said ask KB about Hamilton versus Roth.
Ooh.
I'm assuming he means basketball.
He means basketball.
Yeah, he means basketball.
Hamilton Big Blue against the Roth Falcons. Big Purple Crush. 1981 Ohio High School Regional Finals, AAA Regional Finals at UD Arena. That was a game for the ages. If you were there, you'd never forget it. And if you wasn't there, you wish you had been there. I mean, imagine UD Arena, standing room only. So what is that? 14,000 people, standing room only, and everybody's one of those moments. Like 9/11, 9/11. Where were you on 9/11? So where were you in 19 against Roth and Hamilton? That was a game. Mark Baker, great Dunbar, Ohio State point guard, NBA player. He tells the story. He said, "Man, I was there. I was a young kid." Poking, looking between somebody's legs. I was in there, just squalls in there. I just wanted to see that game. It was just one of those moments, where you were. And Rolf won on the last second shot. My teammate, William Colston, hit the shot over All-American Greg Stokes from Hamilton.
That's what, Norm Greavy, he just wrote Greg Stokes.
Greg
was
Stokes,
the next slide.
Big Ten, future Big Ten Player of the Year. Greg Stokes had a triple-double on us. He had 35 points, 24 rebounds, 12 block shots, and he came within a fingernail of having a 13th block shot. And he got there, Willie Coaster shot that shot over him, and with nothing but the nets. And there's a picture in the paper after that, the ball going through the nets, and me and a couple of my teammates are standing right up underneath the rim looking for the putback with offensive position. So I was going to, but I'm glad I didn't have to try to get a rebound, but it was good. The shot would have been no good because it was the buzzer beater. Yeah. And that sent us on to Columbus in Rolfe High School second state championship.
Norm Greavy, by the way, I want to catch up with him too. Dayton Flyers Obi Toppin got drafted this past week to the New York Knicks, and in the NFL all the time
I'm glad he's in the Eastern Conference. We get the same play.
Yeah, I mean, and plus and I said this too. A lot of people were upset that he got drafted to the New York Knicks. My argument is I'm not a big fan of the Knicks organization as far as trusting them to put him in position to succeed. However, as far as the University of Dayton is concerned, that program. Nothing that selfishly for them, regardless of what they think about whether or not New York is a good landing spot for him from a developmental standpoint. The Knicks, I watched Obi Toppin in UD Arena and the highlights from him in college all over First Take. I watched him all over Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp's show this week. Obi was all over every one of those major shows. And this is no slight to Obi Toppin, but if he was drafted to the Cleveland Cavaliers, he's not being talked about on those shows. So it's not a shot at him. I'm just saying the Knicks, from a marketing standpoint for the Dayton Flyers program, honestly, it could not have been a better fit for them as far as where Obi goes, just because it was so weird watching First Take, and they just had highlight reel after highlight reel of Obi Toppin. Now, we've seen Obi all over national media for going on over a year now, but on First Take, when they're literally dropping Obi's name, talking about the Flyers program, hearing Stephen A. Smith talk about the job Anthony Grant did. No offense to the program, but that's not happening. They're not talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers 5th overall pick. They're talking about the Knicks because everyone wants that Knicks organization to finally turn it around. How special would that be?
I want to see Knicks basketball come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Who wouldn't? I mean, it's good it's funny how they talk about ratings for as bad as the Knicks have been. They're still, when the Knicks are on, they generate ratings just because it's the Knicks, whether they're good or not. But imagine Obi being a part of that team to flip it around. And he's a walking highlight reel. I mean, him and Madison Square Garden is going to be special. That's good for him.
I mean, it took LeBron James to bring the Lakers back. I'm not comparing Obi to LeBron by no means, but it's going to take something, whether it's one player, two players, or three players. It took three players to bring the Celtics back to prominence, with the big three, with Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen and what am I? Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce, yes.
Yes, and so hopefully Obi is one of the building blocks. They had R.J. Barrett last year, Obi this year. Who knows? But I just wish Obi all the best, in the world. And, I don't mind the Knicks coming in second place behind my 76ers in the East. I don't mind that at all. I'm a diehard 76er fan. Been a Sixer fan since Dr. J was there. So I go back a long way. But I'm glad Obi's going to be in the East, so we can go over, jump on a 100-mile ride over to Indianapolis and watch him play the Pacers, or a 3-hour ride up to watch him play the Cavaliers. So, or go see him play in Detroit. So I'm glad. I'm glad that Obi's going to be in the East, and I wish him nothing but the best and success.
Another local NBA free agent storyline here, or at least off-season news. Luke Kennard, former Franklin Wildcat, Mr. Basketball, fantastic local career here. Getting to see him play. Obviously, living in the area, but flying to the hoop. So many great memories of watching him play. He was sent to the Los Angeles Clippers. So he will be playing for Ty Lue and playing with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And, so that's going to be fun seeing him get that opportunity to play under the big lights as well. So Obi's playing under the big lights, obviously not from the air, but playing in UD, playing under the big lights at Madison Square Garden. Luke Kennard playing in Los Angeles. I thought Luke Kennard would have been a great fit in L.A. Well, he is in L.A., but for the Lakers. The Lakers are always looking for those three-point shooters. They did lose Danny Green. I think Danny Green went to year 6.
Don't remind me. I'm trying to forget
You don't like Danny Green?
No, sir.
Why not?
Danny Green's old. Come on, man. Let's say Green in Philadelphia be a ninth man. He better not crack the top 5, top 7. He just need a jersey filler. He can do that. But no, I mean, I love Danny Green as a person, as a player. It's over.
But regardless of that was interesting. And how about the Lakers making some noise too, going out and getting Montrezl Harrell 6th Man of the Year last year. They get Schroeder from OKC. This is a team that won the title last year.
Rondo walk,
and their roster's even better this coming up season. Rondo is going to be a huge miss out. Like them losing Rondo is a big deal. Like his veteran leadership, his presence on a roster is much needed. Like I'm not saying that they're going to lose because they lost him, but they're definitely going to feel a void without him there, just because his presence on the court. He's a good leader on and off the floor, so that'll be a big blow for them.
I haven't had a chance to do all my total analysis of the NBA draft and everything, but what did Denver get? Denver, don't count them out.
I like Denver, and they've built their team through the draft, and same thing with you look at the Jazz, who just signed a 5-year huge extension for Donovan Mitchell, so that's big for them.
And hopefully close to healthy Golden State Warriors. I mean, Klay Thompson's gone.
That's
this
unfortunate.
Is 2 years in a row.
Years, yeah.
And but Klay will be back.
Yeah.
I mean, since Thompson,
Klay Thompson will be back. Yeah.
Klay Thompson will be back, but Steph Curry is
it's going to be up to him.
Hopefully he comes back with a chip on his shoulder when he y'all done forgot about me so quickly. I'm still one of the all-star guards. I'm a 2-time MVP, and I'm looking for him to come back and have a great season.
How about Gordon Hayward making $30 million a year with your guy MJ? Now, I know you like MJ. Everyone loves MJ, the Chicago Bulls player, but the owner, he is the MJ of bad owners in the National. Why would you give Gordon?
It's the worst owners than Michael Jordan.
I heard that line the other day. They said he is the, MJ. When you want to talk about people who are the greatest at something, you say that's the MJ of Major League Baseball. He's the MJ of the NFL. Well, MJ is the MJ of bad owners of the NBA. Why would you give Gordon Hayward, which, by the way, I'm not really totally against, the amount of money is a little absurd, but MJ knows you're going to have to overpay to get stars to come play for your roster right now. Putting Hayward, if he could stay healthy alongside LaMelo Ball, you might have something to work with there. It's not a title team by any means, but they at least got a star in Charlotte now.
Well, I mean, I look at Charlotte as like the Denver of the East. Who wants to go to Denver? Nobody, but they build a team. So that's what Michael's going to have to do in Charlotte. Build a team. It's never going to be a free agent destination for a lot of guys. Can't wait to get to Charlotte. You build through the team, same way Toronto did. You got to build. And so, so overpaying, Gordon Hayward is not the first player to get overpaid. So I don't even hardly look at the numbers anymore. Can you help this team, win a
Everyone's
game?
overpaid.
It's a lot of overpaid guys in the NBA. Trust me. Woo. All right, Russell. Okay, let me stop. But it's a lot of overpaid players. So I take that part of it. So hopefully basketball wise, it can work. But I don't think you pay a guy $30 million to be a second or third option. And that's kind of what he is. He's not a one option guy. He's just not. But nevertheless, forget the money part. Maybe it's going to work basketball wise for him.
All right, so I found this interesting. So before we take a little bit of a breather here, let's shift gears back to college football, Keith. Not the Keith Byars poll, not the Justin Kinner poll, but when the college football playoff poll is released on Tuesday night, not your poll, not my poll, what do you think the poll is going to look like on Tuesday? How do you think who will be the top four filling out the first college football playoff
I think it would be Clemson at 4. Notre Dame at Ohio State at 3, Notre Dame at 2, and Alabama at 1. That's what I think. That's not what I believe, because I have that reversed. I have Ohio State 2 and Notre Dame 3 and Clemson 4 on my list and Alabama 1. But first poll, that's what it's going to probably be. I saw with Kurt Herbstreit, he has Ohio State 4, and he has Clemson 3. Notre Dame 2 and Alabama 1. I have a lot of respect, for Kurt. He's a friend of mine, and I disagree.
Yeah.
How are you going to have a one-loss team ahead of Ohio State? Well, even though it was a tough loss, but still lost.
I had not seen his poll. Now, again, this is not the Justin Kinner poll. This is not the Keith Byars poll. It's what we think. We're trying to jump into the minds.
Yeah, Kurt Herbstreit's poll is just like ours. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, how I think it's
even though we know it matters to us, but
I think that. Yesterday was a great opportunity. Like, we should be looking at it as Ohio State got a top 10 victory, and that's great heading into the first poll. But because of the mistakes they made with the secondary and Justin Fields throwing 3 interceptions, whether I think it's right or wrong, I think that's going to carry weight on how they reveal their poll. You ain't going to like how I think it's going to look. It's not my poll. It's how I think it's going to look. I cannot overemphasize that enough. Bama will be 1. I believe Clemson will still be 2.
Wow.
I believe that they are going to do
How are you going to have them 2 over a team that beat them?
Because I still think that they are going to get the rub of, no Trevor Lawrence. You had 7 guys out due to COVID. You had, they're going to get that COVID love.
Wow, why even play them?
And then Notre Dame at 3.
It sounds like an election. Why vote if it doesn't matter?
Someone a little bit ago said, "Man, if the College Football Playoff Committee could just judge Ohio State off the first half alone of each week, then we'd be fine."
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Ohio State coming in at number 4, just because they play a top 10 team and they didn't look great doing it, even though you still put 45 points out. I mean, again, I'm just basing it off of in the past. The committee always tries to put they want you to talk about it, and they always do something a little crazy. I mean, last year we didn't talk about Penn State being in the top 4. Penn State, there was 2 Big Ten teams in the top 4 in the very first college football playoff poll. They like to separate themselves from the AP. And by the way, Keith,
it would be surprising if somebody's in the Pac-12 in the top 4.
That's or they roll the dice and put Cincinnati in, which, by the way, I cannot overemphasize enough how wrong that would be. We cannot do this whole feel-good story with Cincinnati much longer. What I mean by that is there comes a point where if we're going to criticize Ohio State for not playing anybody, or Alabama for not playing anybody, or whoever for not playing anybody, but then we ignore that Cincinnati has played nobody, and can you imagine, Keith, if Ohio State would have won 42-35 over a non-top 25 Indiana? We would crucify them.
Yes.
And yesterday you had Cincinnati narrowly beat a non-top 25 UCF team. Why do we talk about, Luke Fickell, and Luke Fickell's great. That's not what I'm doing here, is targeting him. But, man, the Bearcats, look how great they are. They found a way to win. That's what playoff teams do. How can we do that with them? But if Ohio State would have narrowly escaped a non-top 25 Indiana team, Keith, we would have butchered them. We can't keep doing that. That's why with Cincinnati, they're a great story. They're fun. They're cute. But let's stop. I'm sure they're a great team, but resume-wise, it doesn't match up with what these other teams in the Big Ten, Pac-12, SEC, ACC, even the Big 12 are doing.
Yeah, I mean, and what's hurt Cincinnati is they can't control their schedule.
Yep.
They would have loved to play some non-conference games, against the Big Ten or the SEC or ACC, but this year that's not just possible. And, it seems like every year, well, I don't say we, but they come up with a way to take credit away from the American Athletic Conference. When UCF was on their roll, well, look who they play. Memphis and Cincinnati last year. Well, come on, guys.
At SMU.
When are you going to respect them? Or if you don't respect them, stop calling them a D1 team.
Yeah, and I think that's just kind of where we're at with that. We can't use select metrics for Cincinnati that we would not use for Ohio State and some of these others as far as that goes. But it's going to be – I love the college football playoff time of year. It drives us nuts. I've seen you get super angry. I'll never forget 2 years ago when Ohio State was left out of the college. I mean, me and Schlemmer, we literally both – we pushed our chair.
Oh, it was hot.
We pushed our chair away from the table. It was the year that Ohio State lost to Purdue. And they ended up missing out on the college football playoff to a one-loss Ohio State missed out on making it to a one-loss Alabama team that year. And you had said all the right things. You're like, it's going to be fun. The point. And then when the poll came out, me and Schlemmer we scooted our chairs back
Big
from
Ten
the table.
champion.
We had a huge crowd here at Frickers, and you went on the longest rant I'd ever heard. It was hilarious. And but it brings out emotion. It brings out passion. It's fun, even though sometimes it doesn't always go in your team's favor. But Ohio State's fine. They're in. They're in one way or another as long as they take care of business, which
win, baby.
Yep, that's all that matters.
Al Davis.
Big picture. Last thing on the college football playoff here, and then we're going to switch over to the Browns and Bengals quick. The college football, according to Stuart Mandel on Twitter, says that the college football playoff management committee considered expanding the college football playoff this year due to COVID, but then decided against it. First of all, they should not have even thought about expanding it. You are having a hard time. You are having a tough time getting games in each and every week. Your goal is to try to get these games in and hurry up and get this season done. Let's crown a national champion. Why would you even think about adding more games that COVID can impact? So leave it alone. It's unfortunate. But let me ask you, is there a team that has been robbed of an opportunity for the playoff due to COVID? I don't think so. It's unfortunate how many teams have missed games, but Ohio State's had a game missed with Maryland because of it. But Ohio State's not out of anything because they missed it. I think they
that's going to be something. They get to the playoffs and one of the teams can't play. The other team automatically advances.
Well, right now they have not come out with the final decision, but what they have said is that they would not allow the winner just to be crowned as far as a forfeiture if their team gets COVID. So they would move the game back. They would make sure that they get the college football playoff semifinals and finals in. That has not been exactly decided on yet.
They're giving themselves some wiggle room.
But this is a decision that should have been made back in July and August, not by the way, we're end of November, which is crazy. This should not be. Why is the committee trying to talk about this at the end of November when we are just over a month away from Christmas? Like, we're going to be having Selection Sunday here in about 3 weeks. So where do we
stand with the bowl games?
There's going to be bowl games too. I doubt that many of them get in.
When will they be played? Mid-January?
This is going to be a bumpy December, by the way. Like, it's bowl month. It's bowl month, and we don't even know how they're going to do the playoff yet. This is insane to me. The NCAA, college basketball is supposed to tip off this week. I mean, more than half the teams are struggling. Like Wright State right now, they're on a shutdown. They had a player test positive. Well, I shouldn't say that. A positive test has led to them shutting things down. In the building. Don't know what player, don't know who, someone within that program. So they've been shut down, as is everyone else. Bellarmine, I mean, that was supposed to be UD's big showdown in the non-conference this year, that they would rather play Bellarmine than Wright State. But, I feel bad for College Game Day now that the Bellarmine matchup has been canceled. I really wonder how, what matchup is College Game Day going to come into town for. But anyways, we'll focus more on this and reaction this week. We have the Keith Byars Show tomorrow from noon to 1. We also have the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash from 3 to 6. So we're going to get more into this college football and basketball reaction to just see what is next. We're a few days away from the season supposed to be tipping off for college basketball. And first college football playoff poll comes out on Tuesday, and we don't even know how the college football playoff is going to be played yet. This is kind of foolish if you ask me, but we'll dive more into that this week. All right, Browns and Eagles. Coming up, we're going to dissect that matchup as well as the Washington football team and your Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to preview both matchups as well as give you our picks for some of the top Week 11 NFL matchups as we close things out, plus more of your calls at 457-9464. We'll be back in a moment live from Frickers.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada, nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this